NSC and start your journey to wealth creation and financial freedom. For more information, visit www.nsc.co.ke. The NSC. Discover opportunity.
We have got different levels of amputation, and now when we have above knee amputation, we just take a cast using plaster bandage.
After amputation, you know, they go through loss and grief. It's part of the body that has been taken away.
You can grip this phone if you want to, although it cannot grip very heavy objects.
Counseling hapa imenisaidia sana kwa sababu hata familia yangu kwenda kuelezea vidole za miguu zinaenda ilikuwa ni shida.
This is KTN News.
In case you are just joining us, this is Weekend Express. I am Abubakar Abdullahi, and as earlier promised, we are talking matters security and more so personal security. In the event that there is an active shooter at the place and the point you are at, how are you supposed to respond? Joining us in studio to discuss and of course explain the content of his book by the name Act Before Bang is Erick Mwiti. Erick, thanks for joining me in studio this morning. Pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here.
The very title of the book, Act Before Bang, is indicative of a precautionary measure.
Yeah, actually, Act Before Bang. Bang means, bang is not a specific thing. It refers to what we dreaded for. Some of us are victims of rape. Some of us are victims of normal mugging. Some of us are victims of terrorism. So bang is act before that particular moment. Where now bang is time zero in a timeline where we have zero when it's happening then. You should act 4 seconds, 4 minutes, 4 hours before that particular time. That's the time.
And are we naturally inclined to act before that time?
Unfortunately, it needs some bit of training. The difference between you and the most trained person in this world, what we hear SEAL Team 6, is they detect an anomaly on early stages, and they know the ultimate, or rather the outcome of that particular event.
But those are specialists, people who are trained in those fields.
Exactly.
In the event that you are a layman like me and many others.
That's why I'm here. You need to read yourself through it. We've had doctors, we had people who are laymen and they've read their way to medicine, to surgeons, to financial analysts. Why can't you read yourself to safety?
In the event that you are constantly thinking of safety,
yes,
are you not inclined towards a fear factor? You're always some sort of afraid of something to happen.
Of course, you'll always be afraid of something if you're not aware. And by the way, do you know that when you're that ignorant, you make yourself an easy target, as per se? So you should always be proactive. You should always know the situation. You should always know what's going around you. Have that an extra element of your own personal safety. No one will ever come to save you in the moment of a situation. You have yourself in that particular scene at that particular moment.
One of my favorite statements of the book, I must say, comes of the forward. It says, and I quote, "The greatest threat today in regards to security is not the people unknown to us, but the people who are well known to us." Isn't this not an irony on its own?
Yeah, sure it is. But you see, I'll give you a scenario. We saw when President Obama was coming here. The moment there was a guy, a security guy, who came out of a plane and stayed there for like 5 minutes scrutinizing the people around. He wasn't scrutinizing the enemy from without. He was scrutinizing the enemy from within. This is a person who should be there, but is a threat. How is he supposed to know he's a threat? We have, they're called human cues that display when we're about to do something. Those are the cues that this particular guy was looking at. Who is in the right place? Who has the right to be there, but has the wrong intention? These are the people now who are threats. We have people in Kenya, For instance, I'll give you an example. We were told one of the mastermind of the Garissa attack was a Kenyan.
Actually a lawyer.
Yes. So this guy is not supposed to, he's supposed to be a Kenyan. He has all the rights to be there, and he's the one who perpetrated the attack.
And in case you are to draw a comparison between the threat without and within, which one is of a big deal between the two? Or are they of equal measures?
I'll put it this way. The enemy from without is not us to cater for. It's not us to protect the enemy. It's not us, the civilians, to cater from the enemy from without. Because that's why we have security officers. That's why we have KDF. That's why we have Kenya Police. Those are their mandates. And obviously, they're doing the very best. Actually, today in Kenya is the safest time ever in history. Because these guys are doing an extra thing. But mind you, every civilian need to take charge of his own personal security. No one will ever come to protect you. It's you to know your own faults, what you do to protect yourself. That's the whole thing.
That sounds as though it has some sort of a connotation with the Nyumba Kumi initiative, taking the personal, individual task of security. Is that the case?
Basically, yes. But I'll try to put it another way. You see, security is a collective thing. We need each other to make ourselves safe. Our lives depend on other people's observation skills. These are the drivers who are driving these cars. These are the policemen. We need them. Our lives depend on their observation skills. We ourselves, it means we are the people now who will guide other people. They need us to be safe. So the question is, what are you doing to enhance that? Yeah.
And how prepared are we for such a situation?
Unfortunately, the greatest majority of people are ignorant. We have an ignorant society. Basically, if you get the ratio of maybe the trained officers in this country in regard to the people, now the 42 million Kenyans, it's less than 5%. It's less than 5% of people who know actually even to do an intelligence report. How can you report when you have an attack? A basic thing. Most of us have phones, but how can you even just make that call that will help save a life, and more so your life for that matter? We need to get that instilled in ourselves, in our systems, in our schools, because basically you're privy to this. Every Kenyan, regardless of which part of this country, in Lamu, in Wajir, in Moyale, who has undergone class 1, knows how to cross a road. Look right.
So should it be the case as well for safety?
Yes, for safety is the same. Why is it so hard to protect yourself? Why is it so hard for you to learn about your safety? And then, mind you, a gun, the name gun to a child is the same name to a PhD holder. A gun doesn't have so many other words. Your own safety, like for instance, a simple drill, like when you hear a shot, just lie down. You can't say it better from a child than to a PhD holder.
It's a constant. We'll come to how people should react to such situations a little bit later. But in the book, you also talk of a great deal about terrorism, which begs the question, what motivates a 17-year-old kid living arguably in a youthful life, in a fantasy, if not, to join a killer caste, such as Al-Shabaab, ISIS, or even any other terrorist group?
Yeah, from the society that we're living in today, we have people seeking audience and recognition and a fallback. Now, for the case of guys who are joining these particular Al-Shabaabs and maybe ISIS
terrorist groups
and terrorism groups, they seek to find a recognition or a place to fall back to. So they're easily gullible and they're lured to do that.
If they are seeking a place to fall back to, is there a gap that is pushing them to that side?
Yes, of course there's one, and it's for us to be cognizant of the fact that sometimes even lack of a job, for lack of better thing to put it here, even desperado, being a desperate, you see you're not finding job or maybe some normal social rejection, that would actually lead to that. That will actually lead someone to be so vulnerable to join those particular things, especially when they have something that is motivating them, like money. And now that when they put it this way, fighting for these particular groups, it's a calling, not a criminal. They put it as a calling.
A calling by who and from where?
You see, now they do that in the connotation of a religion. Unfortunately, or maybe I should put it this way, today maybe radicalization is not geared to only one particular type of a religion. We have all the diversification of the 42 tribes in Kenya that have joined the Al-Shabaab. It's not religion, it's about now our day-to-day activities. If someone is so desperate, if someone needs somewhere to run to, someone to listen to, you're rejected by your own families, we have those kind of scenarios where we have even well-up families having their children join the Al-Shabaab and stuff.
And have we reduced the factors that are pushing young people to join violent organizations as such?
Basically, I don't think so, because the moment that we rely on our government to do everything for us, when we look for our government, we think that the government is a solution to every problem that we have. That's where we go wrong. We are our own solutions. And we have responsibilities. Parents have responsibilities of taking care of their children. As much as they are over 18 or stuff, that's a responsibility of the society as itself. So I don't think we've gone far on that, though we're trying. Though I've heard of many maybe churches doing stuff, mosques doing stuff, trying to train their own. So I think we're heading there, but not really much.
And what are often the intentions of these terrorist groups, these young people, or even old people who are joining violent extremism groups?
Yeah, actually, there are a number of intentions as to why the terrorists do what they do. One, basically, is to intimidate the government. For instance, in our country today, they'll strike so that maybe we call back our military from Somalia. Secondly, they would want to intimidate now the general public. They would want to show that their cause is a genuine cause.
It seems as though there is a power tussle of wanting to prove one side.
Yeah.
Is there a supremacy war between often the terrorist groups and, for instance, even governments?
Well, I can't talk on behalf of either, but
you can analyze as an expert.
I can put it this way. The government is not out there to prove something to a criminal. That's it. That's basically what it is. What the government is doing, it's mandate to protect its own people. And mind you, they are doing it so well. It's only that we're not privy as civilians to know what they're doing. Actually, the remaining part is on our own part. That's why we as people need to do our part.
And what is that, our part?
Exactly. Now, that's why I'm here. We need to, we have an obligation as a people to learn about our own safety, to learn what are the do's and don'ts in times of any form of an attack. In Kenya, we don't have only the attack of terrorism. We have a problem with maybe mugging, normal mugging. We have our own, rapes. We have our own unique problems that we should that is more prevalent than terrorism itself. And that's why you as a person, you should know from where you lie, what are the risks that are that are mostly to you. Yes.
And in the event that you are at a place, from what I'm understanding of your words, is that you have to be extra careful at all times.
Yeah.
I mean, would it not be tiring to be extra careful at all times if we were to suppose and assume? I'll
put it this way. We have levels of awareness. We have actually 5 levels of awareness. But I'll put it, for better words, whatever I want to put it through it's called a relaxed awareness. First, let me put you through them. There's condition white. I'm sure you've heard of that. A condition white is where you don't know anything that is happening around you. That's why you have a phone in a busy street and you just marked. There's condition red, there's condition yellow, and there's condition black. So, condition white is where you don't know what's happening to you, what's happening around you. And that makes you an easy target. Because in the book, there's where I've shown about an attack cycle. There's one condition. Every attack in this world, whether the most extreme one or the less pickpocket, it has to have a cycle. There's first you need to have a target selection. Then you need to go to now planning, then deployment, then attack, and now escape.
And all this is inside the mind of the perpetrator.
Actually, that's come from now a name that is not commonly used. It has to start with surveillance. The enemy will first surveil you so as to know when to attack you. And mind you, the enemy will attack you when he feels he has all the advantages. You understand? And he'll attack you with where there is minimal reaction from your end, so that he can get an easy way out.
And some of these attacks seemingly and observably are done to make statements. Why would someone, I guess, kill people who are in a shopping mall, who have come just to enjoy themselves? Are some of the attacks inspired by making statements, however political, religious, or whatsoever the statement could be?
Yeah, if I can put you around, sometimes back, terrorism is not a new thing in the world. Terrorism has been there. But the current now way they're doing it, from before, terrorists used to look for these high target people to send a message. Because terrorism is all about getting their word out, to get their sympathizers think that they're doing whatever they're doing is called for, to demoralize the government and its citizens. But then today, terrorism is different. They're not going for high-value individuals. They are going for high-value targets where we have a mass number of people so that they can hit all the news in the world. You see, now that's the own intention of what they're doing, why they're doing it. So they'll go for that particular place where they have maximum casualties. And that place, they'll go for a soft target place where people are so ignorant. Can I ask you a question? Why don't they go to any military place? That's a hard target. They know the force that they'll meet there is not a joke. Why would they go to a civilian place? Because the civilians have dropped their guard.
If we were to flip-flop that question, they go to probably a civilian place because they find it more easier to do so.
Yes.
Doesn't that bring the question of who protects us then?
Yeah, it's true. We need, I'll tell you this, where we put as secure as social places, we have our own security there. It's not that we don't have people to protect us from there. It's only that the majority of the people there are ignorant. The biggest number of people there are ignorant.
And when you say these people are ignorant, what specific ignorance are you alluding to? The fact that they don't know what is happening, or the fact that they're not informed of what to do in the event that they find themselves in such scenario?
I'll go back to what I told you, the condition white. So many of us walk aimlessly, not knowing what's around us. Now, that's the same scenario you find in these places. People are busy. It's actually called, there's a term for it, I'll remember, inattentional blindness. You're so much engulfed by what you're doing, not knowing what's going around you. That makes you an easy target by yourself. And I'll tell you this, maybe it's a point to note. People will attack or will fight for two reasons. One for ego and the other one for survival. Whatever terrorism are doing is for ego basis. They want to put out something to themselves. What we now, the Kenyans should do, or the civilians should do, we should fight for our own survival. We should be proactive.
It's good that you're mentioning the ego correlation to terrorism. I wonder what kind of pride they get from killing people.
You see, to them, they've tried to package it in a way that it's a religional call. If I kill as many people and I be killed in a position in the same act, it means they put it, I don't know, I'm a martyr or something. So to them, they have a calling. They do that for a reason. And they try to put all factors in a way that it suits their own ideologies. So to us, it's different. No one, there's this analogy that you'll always have someone to protect you. It's so wrong. No one will ever be in a position to protect you when you need them most. For instance, when you're in a car crash, who will ever come to protect you from having a car crash? No. You'll have yourself to protect yourself and to give yourself a first aid. No one else will ever do that. They'll come after the bang, after that occasion. So it's you to realize what you're doing is maybe to be proactive, to be on this other side of doing, training yourself, having the know-how before that particular time.
In one way, you're answering the question I'm about to ask, which is, we get back to the title of the book.
Yes.
Act before a bang. Why is it important to act before a bang?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. It's a good one. The most important thing in this world and to a human is being safe. Always, you should not be a subject to a reaction after the bang. You see, if we assume bang is a straight line and it has a middle, times 0, where 0 is, we have the left side and the right side. The bang is the middle. You should always be 4 minutes, 4 seconds, 4 hours before the actual bang. Now the rape, the terrorism, the mugging.
And that seemingly needs skills,
accident.
Isn't it?
Yes,
doesn't just happen.
Now, this is where I'm here. That's where I'm here. In life, there are 3 questions that you should always ask yourself in any moment. What's happening here in any situation? What's happening around here? 2, who's anomaly? Who's looking out of place here? And you should always have a plan. What if something bad happened? What will I do? You should always have that plan. Unfortunately, we are taught we are always safe. But we should always have a plan to execute in times of need. And this is now what I was telling you, early realization of a problem before it unfolds. You don't need to wait to see a person with a gun or something to know a problem is ensuing.
And what are some of the early signs to show that there is something wrong in a certain area that you are at?
In this book, you'll find a chapter for 4 pillars of human cues. We actually have 6, they're called 6 human profilers, 6 human cues, human behaviors. And for our friends in the military, they call it 6 combat profilers. These are how humans behave in their own natural environments. These are the things that now you should look at to know, to assess the people around you.
And what are some of those things that you need to look at?
Yeah, there are 6 of them. We have heuristics, we have proxemics, we have biometrics, we have atmospherics, we have iconography, and what else? And kinesics. So basically, kinesics is a study of heuristics is a tactical shortcut. We always have very little information when we're having a problem. It's a mental way of doing your own thing. Now, when you're trained, you'll get to that point, level of having a tactical shortcut of doing things. Proxemics is a relationship between people. In a crowd, how can you detect this guy is a high-value target and a high-value individual? By the reaction of the people around him.
And for you to identify that person, you, according to the jargons you have quoted me, seem as though you have trained in this area. You must have had some knowledge in this particular area, which begs the question, it's not everyone who knows that knowledge. It's not everyone who is trained, not unless you want everyone to be trained in this.
Basically, I'll put it this way. I wrote this book because of some questions that I had. Some 4 years ago, I happened to have lost my 2 nephews Just to give you a story, a small story, these guys were carjacked at 2 o'clock, and they were later killed killed at 9 o'clock. 2 p.m. to 9 o'clock. That's around maybe more than 4 or 5 hours. So I asked myself, what really, if I were in that situation, what would I have done? So these are the same questions that made me do an intensive research that I've documented in a book.
And in that research,
yes,
it's getting personal a little bit, I understand.
Yes.
Did you intend on finding the motive behind the carjackers?
Actually, it was, from what we were told, it was just a random show. It was just random. It's only that now the victims lacked what now I've put in a book.
And let's talk
the
of
personal safety.
And let's talk of that for the 5 minutes that I understand we are left with.
Yeah.
In the event that you have been, as the scenario you gave, carjacked, what needs to be done? What should you do?
The first thing you need to know in any situation is the intention of the attacker. That's the first thing.
And in the event that the intention of the attacker is bleak, it's not that clear to you, what do you do?
You see, now that's why you need to train. That's why now you need to train, because never assume someone who is coming, maybe a terrorist will spare your life just because you're pleading. He has a motive. He has a target to hit. That's not to say if someone wants to steal your phone, he'll steal and run.
Yes.
But you should always know the intention or the ultimate intention of this person that is attacking you. And by the way, you need not to find yourself in that situation from the word go. Because if only you can read in between the lines, you can be able to remove yourself from that particular situation. Why would you have your car not locked in a risky place? The risk landscape in Kenya has changed. The way you drive your car in Lavington is not the same way you drive your car in Dandora.
You're alluding to personal responsibility as well when it comes to safety.
Yes.
Let's assume that you are finding yourself in a scenario where there is an active shooter.
Yes.
There's a shooting that is going on. You don't know what actually is happening. You don't understand the motive behind the shooters. What are some of the steps that you can take towards safety?
Yeah, there's a philosophy of active shooting where you're told run, fight, hide. That's the philosophy of that. I don't think many of Kenyans know why they're told to hide. Because the analogy of hiding means someone will come and save you from that hiding place.
And there's a rescue mission.
There's a rescue mission. Supposing you don't find yourself in that particular position of hiding and the enemy is of close proximity, never assume this guy will save your life. Now, in a book, there's a title I've written about OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, and act. You should always be in a position, the first step before the enemy himself. You should always be a step ahead.
And in the event that you have found yourself there, the enemy has caught you.
Yeah. You've got no option. You need to use whatever you have to use to save your life. You see, in street fight, in terrorism, there are no rules. There are no rules that you should look after someone will judge you for that. You see, when you put me in a corner, I react according to that particular situation. I don't need to die because of you. I need to kill you. You understand? So there's no excuse as to why you should fall a victim on a situation. You should always be proactive to that particular situation.
And in the event that you find something that shouldn't be happening and you intend on reporting, there's often the question of the confidence level with the police, the question as well of victimization. How much of a challenge is that to someone who is practicing personal safety?
In the book I've written so many different numbers. You see, unfortunately, we only think that it's only the police you should report to. No, we have security agencies in Kenya. We have the intelligence. We have the army, the KDF. We have security groups, private security companies. We have utility companies, utility like maybe Nairobi Water, they have a call center. Sometimes when in a situation, lines tend to jam up to the police, so the lines are engaged. Why don't you call someone to do that for you somewhere else? You see, those are the options.
The confidence, as we conclude, yes. The confidence, believability is often a challenge, I guess, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, actually it's a challenge because there's a laid down formula or strategy of making a call. We call it intelligence reporting. Like when you call, you should send a clear message of what you what the person coming to save you should expect from this other end. We have an acronym called SALUTE. Size, where you give the number of people you're seeing, your activity, what they are doing. What they are doing.
You monitor what
yes. That's now when you're calling. You see the size.